appreciate you guys all coming out. Today was basically a bonus Sunday practice, what we call a bonus Sunday practice. As most of you guys know, we have off on Mondays, so for us, tomorrow is Monday. The players will be off from practice tomorrow. The following day will be a bonus Tuesday practice, a bonus Wednesday practice, and then we'll get back into our normal game week from that point on. So appreciate you guys being out. Excited to have the opportunity to play here soon. And I think we've had a great camp. I think we've had a really good camp. I feel completely different about our team at this point than we did last year. And that's for all the reasons we've already discussed. Tell them 10 things.
James, last time we talked to you a couple weeks ago, you said it was going to be a little while till you can come to what you want to do with the O-line. Can you tell us about where you are there now and where things kind of stand with the offensive line?
Yeah, we're gonna announce a depth chart here soon. As you guys know, we try to make things as difficult as we possibly can on our opponents. It's just like us. We're looking for depth charts. Those things make your job a little bit easier. I think you guys have been to enough practices. You see, if we were playing Saturday, I think Paris is in a position to start at left tackle, and then the other four are basically what you've seen. I do think there's a little bit of a battle going on inside with Gaia, Dowry, and Mann for those two spots. But I think overall it's about what you would anticipate. But we'll announce that here pretty soon.
James, what about redshirting? I know you mentioned on the Big Ten Network that you guys were getting to a point. You said that to us a couple weeks ago as well about getting to a point where you had green, yellow, and red. Where do you stand in that process? Have you made any determinations yet?
Yeah, we have. I had a conversation with the guys on Sunday. We usually do that right before we go to scout teams, which was today. And I think you guys have heard us characterize them as reds, which are our red shirt guys. More than likely, yellows are guys that we're going to try to red shirt unless things change, and green are guys that we're going to play from day one. But again, that could change. We had a guy yesterday that was a yellow that we had a conversation with today, and he became a green. And that's based on their preparation and how they work. That's based on the guys in front of them that we feel like they're going to be ready to do their jobs. So right now, I think we have four guys that we have as green right now, and I think that is Polk, that is Juwan Johnson, that is John Reed, and that is Saquon Barkley that are greens. And then there's another group of probably about 12 to 14 guys that are yellows, and then after that. And to be honest with you, there's a larger number than I've ever been associated with that I think we could legitimately play this year, and they would play well. I think we're finally getting back to a little bit more of a normal situation where now we're really making decisions on what's in Penn State's best interest long term and what's in the young men's best interest long term. One of the challenges that we have here, and it's a good challenge to have, is we graduate so many guys in 3 to 3.5 years. That's a little bit of the struggle, I think, is do I redshirt a guy and now he doesn't come back for his 5th year because he's already graduated, and now you've spent that time investing and you don't have him. So that's the challenge. That's the art of what's the best way to take advantage of your roster. But that's where we're at right now. And again, that could change weekly. I think you guys heard me tell the story before at a previous institution. We had a young man named Dominique Foxworth, and he was redshirting up till the last few weeks of the season, and we burned his red shirt, helped us play well, and he went on and played for a long time in the NFL and has had a great career. So every situation is kind of unique and different.
James, what has Mike Gesicki shown you in camp so far, and do you expect him to have a bigger role in the offense this year?
Yeah, I think all the things that we've seen in the past with him, he is extremely athletic. Runs very well. He's got tremendous ball skills, and I've always made the argument, the better your ball skills are, the faster you are and the bigger you are. Because if you don't have to slow down to catch the ball and you got a big catch radius, it makes you so much more effective. And now, he's put himself in a position physically, to change his body. He's 255 pounds now. Last year was 235. So blocking, he's able to fulfill a bigger role in that part of the game. You know, and probably similar to some of the defensive ends like Curtis Cawthorn and guys like that have done the same thing.
What do you think it was about Deshaun Hamilton coming in last year, being able to have as much success as he did so early?
Well, I think a couple things. He's mature. You know, he's smart. You know, he's disciplined. I think he was really hungry after sitting out the previous basically 6 months. And he's athletic and he's got good ball skills, but he's got good understanding. And I think that's what a lot of our players and people don't understand. You know, there's a lot of reasons why guys contribute early, and there's a lot of reasons why guys are inconsistent. And maturity and intelligence and understanding is a big factor in that. You know, it's just like I was telling the guys the other day. You know, I think some of these guys feel like if you're a defensive lineman, you got to be tough but not skilled. And if you're a wide receiver, you got to be skilled but not tough. They all have to be. Defensive linemen have got to be mentally tough and physically tough, but they also have to be skilled, and they have to have great fundamentals and technique and athleticism. The receivers have to be tough. There's not a position on our team or in our program that can be one without the other. You know, all those things are so important for us to be able to trust them, that we're going to be able to depend on them day in and day out. The same thing with their teammates.
Coach Jan Johnson, kind of an in-state guy, pretty versatile in high school, QB, linebacker, he's also a wrestler.
Two-time state champion.
Yeah, he's very impressive. What have you seen from him in camp?
Yeah, he just got here yesterday, so it's hard to say. He wasn't a guy that was in our 105 of camp. We wanted to, just the numbers didn't allow us to do that, but he's here with us now. It's too early for me to tell. He was here all summer. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. But I can't really speak on it because he hasn't even put on full pads yet.
What can you do with those extra guys here now, though, that maybe you weren't able to do before they were allowed to come?
You know, not a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's not like last year when our numbers were down and those guys, you know, really helped. We were still able to practice the way we want to practice with a normal model. But those guys do. They create more depth. You know, they create more, you know, opportunities, you know, for us to practice the way we want to practice. And now you're not modifying things when you lose guys. So, you know, I think we go from 105 to 121 after the first day of school. And then after the first game, we have a little bit more flexibility after that as well. So, you know, those guys are helpful. It's becoming a lot more competitive. I said to the team and the coaches yesterday, you know, standing on the field in the stadium last night. We went to the stadium last night because I wanted to make sure that the first time we played a night game wasn't that game. You know, so we had a practice in that environment. And just standing out there and looking at our D-line, they just look differently. You look at our safeties, they look different. You look at the wide receivers. The whole group, you know, has improved. You know, their bodies, their movement, their athleticism, their understanding. So we just look like a different team right now. We still got a long ways to go, don't get me wrong, but I'm really pleased with the progress the guys have made.
On that new roster, Koa Farmer's back at safety. What went into that move? He was at linebacker to start the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of different things. You know, most importantly, you know, you're trying to get the guys on the bus, and then you're trying to get them on the right seats on the bus. And whenever you're recruiting guys out of high school and you're making projections, that's what you're trying to figure out. So we had a need at the outside linebacker, the field linebacker last year. So, you know, because of his body type and his athleticism, we said, let's give him a chance. But, you know, again, you're talking about a guy who played tailback in high school and asking him to do those things, and, you know, just wasn't able to compete for the number 2 job last year. So he kept developing and doing a great job. We have a need right now at safety. We had 4 safeties that we feel pretty good about. We need a 5th guy, and was the 5th guy Aaron Monroe and burn his red shirt and make him a green and play him from week 1? Or is it Koa Farmer? And Koa's strengths right now are his speed and athleticism. You know, he runs 4.4, and where he struggled is closer to the box as a linebacker. Those things just haven't come natural to him yet. So moving him back to safety and allowing to take advantage of some of his strengths right now, we thought was the right thing to do. Now, a year from now, 2 years from now, does he move back maybe to that field linebacker? Possibly, we'll see. But right now, it's just getting him in the best position that he had a chance to help our football team in a positive way. I think he's going to have a big impact on special teams.
Would Von Walker be number 2 at field linebacker now, or is there a competition there?
At this point right now, but again, we'll announce the depth chart here pretty soon. If we just keep talking, you guys will ask me every position, and you'll have the depth chart. But we'll announce that here pretty soon. But yeah, if we were going to play this Saturday, I would say Von Walker's, probably in that argument. Yes, sir.
James, what did Brandon Polk do to kind of distinguish himself? Because you look at his size and 168, I think he is. What do you like about him? What kind of games do you have?
He did some good things at camp. He runs well. He's extremely fast.
Harris, what did he do in the preseason to kind of step up and secure that job? Because the first time we talked to you, you said he was still kind of coming along, still kind of learning.
And nothing really dramatic. He's just getting better. He's getting better in his footwork. He's getting better in his hand placement. He's getting better in his assignments. He's more confident in what he's doing. I do think the big difference is he's got 4 other guys next to him that are taking a much more active role in his success, telling him specifically what to do and making the calls and things like that. But it's not like one thing just happened. It's just his work ethic, his attitude, and he's getting better. He's still got a long ways to go, but I think he's improved, and I think right now at this point he gives us the best opportunity to play and play well.
James, how do you feel about the place kicking job, and has somebody emerged yet?
I think it's still a concern for us. I think place kicker and punter is still a concern. We knew that going in to the offseason. We all talked about Mike Hull. We all talked about the defensive ends. We all talked about the offensive line, and we talked about the kicking. And I think that's still a concern. Right now, I think if you just we document everything. So every single kick, the time that the kick got off in operation, the time that the punt got off in operation, the hang time, the ball location, the distance, everything. Joe Julius statistically is in the lead right now, but there's inconsistency right now. I think Tyler is right there with him, and when I say he's ahead statistically, it's close. Same thing with Daniel Pascarella. He's in the lead, but it's close. Gula's really come on in the last week. But that's still an area that we need to get, cleaned up. We've decided that we're probably going to emphasize special teams a little bit more in these next 9 days to make sure that we can get some of those areas more consistent and we feel confident about.
Coach, the returners on special teams, what have you seen so far that maybe over the next 9 days that you have to work on more?
Well, the returners, it's just different. I mean, last year we went with a situation with reliable guys that were going to be safe in terms of fielding the punts and making great decisions. And maybe we had some guys like Tompkins last year. We thought maybe he could bring a little bit more juice, but again, the consistency in catching the ball and decision making. So this year we're in a position where we feel confident with those guys fielding the balls and communicating, and also have the ability to make some plays. So I think as a punt returner, I think Mark Allen's in that conversation. I think Tompkins in that conversation. I think Polk's in that conversation. As a kick returner, I think you got Koa Farmer in that conversation. I think you have Nick Scott in that conversation. I think you got Saquon Barkley in that conversation. And to be honest with you, until it's live, you don't really know. So, it might be a situation where we rotate those guys every kick until somebody separates himself from the pack. All of them are catching the ball really well right now, but we've only done so many reps of live field special teams. So, seeing what those guys are going to do in a live situation with the lights on, it may take us a couple weeks to figure that out.
When you go 5 DBs, do you think it's more beneficial to be able to bring a safety up to that nickel spot as opposed to just bring a guy in off the sidelines to play that nickel spot? That makes.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on who is your best, your fifth best DB. So it's just kind of like the offensive line. When you have an offensive lineman go down, it's not always just the left tackle for the left tackle. It's how do you get the best 5 on the field again? And I think it's the same thing with DBs. With the nickel or star or however you want to characterize it, if your fifth best DB is a corner, then it's the corner, and you adjust accordingly. If your fifth best DB is a safety, then it's the safety coming, and you adjust accordingly. And what we've done is we've trained both Grant Haley to slide into that nickel spot, and we've trained Jordan to slide into that nickel spot as well. I think in a perfect world, we'd love to use Jordan in that situation, but it really has more to do with who's the next best DB to come in at safety or at corner. And based on the conversation we already had about us moving Koa to safety, we probably would feel better about, maybe Christian Campbell or John Reed at this point.
Thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.